All right, lastly, let's do this sound because this is consistent with what there were two things. One, I think, what was clear from Bernie Sanders' speech last night or address, closed circuit TV or web streaming address to supporters was that the platform fight for him was a big deal. And we've seen that platform fight play out in a number of ways. David Dayen was in studio last week talking about how we're seeing it in the context of the new Glass-Steagall bill, how that fight was playing out, how we have voices in the room where the platform is being hammered out that have not had access to that room before. And it was because of Bernie Sanders. And so there's two things that we garner from this. One, we see a large faction of the Democratic Party coming to the fore that hasn't had the opportunity to speak this loudly in this context for 30 years, more maybe. And two, they have an opportunity to actually shape the platform. So one is like a snapshot in time, and the other is it's ongoing. And here is Cornel West. And this was very contentious, I think, in 2012, you'll recall, the platform plank on Israel. Arguing that the word occupation, which is, a fairly obvious word. This is what you call when someone is occupying land that's not theirs. And he wants that in the platform. Here's Cornel West.
It's a blessing to see you, though, and I appreciate the conversation we had yesterday.
Likewise.
As you know, I have very deep disagreements with you, my brother, but I think I want to see where we can reach common ground, a higher ground. I think both of us
Pause
can
it
agree
for 1 second.
that oppression.
Now, understand that what Cornel West is doing is he is on the platform committee, and he is essentially interviewing or going back and forth with Robert Wexler, former congressman from Florida, who is now the president of Center for Middle East Peace. And they are to the left of AIPAC, like everybody is, but to the right of like a J Street, which is still to the right of where maybe a lot of folks might be, but not dramatically so. But go ahead.
His Palestinian baby in the West Bank has exactly the same value as a precious Jewish baby in Tel Aviv. And therefore, when we talk about evenness at the moral and spiritual level, you come out of the rich Judaic tradition, I come out of a rich Christian tradition. We overlap in that regard. The real question's going to be a commitment to security for precious Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel can never be predicated on an occupation of precious Palestinians. If we're concerned about security, it seems to me, we're going to have to talk seriously about occupation. I don't know whether you would allow the use of that word. New York Times said we got to put it in inverted commas, you know what I mean? No, occupation is real, it's concrete. But at the same time, how do we acknowledge Jewish people, 2,000 years, hated, haunted, vicious contempt, pogroms, Shoah, and so forth? Preoccupation with security, understandable. Palestinians, made in the image of God like anybody else, wrestling with occupation for 50-some years, demeaned, devalued, dominated, exploited. For too long, the Democratic Party has been beholden to AIPAC, that didn't take seriously the humanity of Palestinian brothers and sisters. We're at a turning point now. And of course, it's going to be a slow one in the Democratic Party, but some of us will be working outside the Democratic Party to make it quicker. That's why I support the BDS, not because I think it's anti-Semitic. We've got to fight anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred. It goes hand in hand with every Christian civilization, and many Islamic civilization is wrong, it's unjust, but that cannot be the excuse of in any way downplaying the unbelievable misery that we see in Gaza, in West Bank, and other places. So my first question would be, would you argue for the use of the word occupation in the platform? And two, How would you respond to those who say for so long the United States has been so biased toward Israeli security and not accented the humanity of Palestinians, that to talk about even-handedness is always a version of anti-Semitism as opposed to a struggle for justice?
There you go. Wexler basically dodged the question.
But yeah, he basically dodged it and does not want that word used, even though that's the globally recognized, State Department recognized reality. I mean, it's a stunning.
He
on that
suggested
issue.
extended vacation.
What we're doing is we're just babysitting them. It's actually very considerate.
Nice place to visit,
Oh.
but wouldn't necessarily want to live there unless we found that it provided us certain water rights.
We're going to be wanting another olive tree from you. Thank you. And if you object, you hate the Jews. That's how it goes. Could you imagine for a second?
We're selling some T-shirts. I occupied the West Bank, and all I got was this stupid olive tree.
I did a siege on Gaza, and all I got were these lousy natural gas drilling rights. Could you imagine just to put it in perspective when they talk about anti-Semitism, if somehow through historical, accident or reality, the Israelis were in the West Bank and Gaza, and there was a Palestinian Arab government that militarily occupied the West Bank and then had a siege on Gaza where you didn't allow any humanitarian supplies in, and then periodically bombed it with white phosphorus and Apache helicopters. Would there be? I mean, people should just pause and consider that for a second, and then
There
acknowledge the reality.
was like some of that. There's some analog in, in 1946 or,
Oh, yeah, I'm
47.
just saying in the present circumstance.
Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.